Luke chapter 23. And all the fullness of them rising, they led him on to Pilate. But the Origen began to accuse him, saying, This one we found thoroughly perverting and preventing our nation to give taxes to Caesar, and saying that he himself is Christ the regent. But Pilate asked him, saying, Are you, yea, you the regent of the Jews? But answering him, he says, You say it. But Pilate said to the archpriests and to the throngs, Not one guilt cause I find in this human. But they were strengthened on, saying, He stirs up the throngs down through the whole of Judea, and indeed Origen beginning from Galilee until here. But Pilate, hearing this, asked on if the human is a Galilean. And having known that he is out of the authority realm of Herod, he sent him up to Herod, who himself also being in Jerusalem in on the same days. Having perceived Jesus, Herod was made very joyful, for he was willing to perceive him out for adequately much time, because he had heard concerning him, and he expected to perceive and becoming a sign under the authority from him. He asked on him with adequately many words, but he did not answer him. But the archpriests and the scribes, well stretchedly, as ones accusing him, had taken stand. Besides also Herod was nullifying him together with his host divisions, and scoffing at him, and casting bright clothing about him, sent him back to Pilate. And besides, Herod and Pilate became friends with one another in the same day, for before they below Origen began, as being in enmity to one another. But Pilate, calling together the archpriests and the archpersons and the people, said to them, You brought this human to me as one turning away the people, and perceive, I as investigating him in your eye, I found not one guilt cause in this human, concerning which you accuse him. But also not Herod, for he sent him again to us, and perceive, not one thing having been practiced by him is worthy of death. Hence, chastising him, I will unloosen him. But he had necessity according to the reason to unloosen one bound one to them. But all the fullness they cried up out, saying, Lift away this one, but unloosen to us Barabbas, who because of an uprising having become in the city, and because of murder, was one having been cast in jail. But Pilate lifted up the voice to them again, willing to unloosen Jesus. But they lifted up the voice on, saying, Stake him, stake him. But he said the third time to them, For what badness has this one done? Not one guilt cause of death have I found in him. Hence chastising him, I will unloosen him. But they laid themselves against it with great voices, requiring him that he be staked, and all regardingly strengthened their voices. And Pilate judged on that their request become fulfilled. But he unloosened the one having been cast into jail because of uprising and murder, whom they requested, but Jesus he gave beside up to their will. And as they led him away, they took on Simon, a Cyrenian, coming from the field, and one set the stake on him, so that he may lift it on himself behind Jesus. But there followed him a many numerous fullness of the people, and the women, who did ululate and bewail him. But having been turned to them, Jesus said, Daughters of Jerusalem, do not sob on for me, whereas sob on for yourselves, and on for your children. Perceive, days come in which they will talk, Blissful are the barren ones and the body cavities, which did not let become, and the nipples, which did not nourish. Then one will Origen begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Veil us. If they do this with the hydrous wood, what will then become in with the dried up wood? But also two ulterior ones, yea, workers of badness, were led together with him to be eliminated up. And when they came onto the place being called Skull, they staked him there, and the workers of badness that abides, the one out of those at the right hand, but the other out of those at the left hand. But Jesus said, Father, remit it to them, for they do not perceive what they do. But as thoroughly parting his raiment, they cast the lot. And the people beholding had taken stand, but the archpersons outmocked him, saying, Others he saved, let him save himself, if this one is the Christ of God, the outchosen one. But the warfarers scoffed at him, coming and bringing him vinegar, and saying, If you, yea, you are the regent of the Jews, save yourself. But it was also written thereon on account of him in Hellenic, Roman, and Hebraic writing characters, This one is the regent of the Jews. But one of the workers of badness, who as having been hanged on the stake blasphemed him, saying, Is it not you, yea, you are the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the ulterior one answering and mourning him explained, Is it not that you, yea, you, fear God, since you are in the same judgment? And we that abides are thus justly, for we take away the worthy requirements of the deeds which we practiced. But this one practiced not one impertinent thing. And he said, Jesus, be reminded of me when, as it were, you come in your regency. And Jesus said to him, Amen, I say to you today, you will be with me in the paradise. And it was about the 6th hour, and a darkness came upon the whole earthland till the 9th hour, the sun being deficient out. But the curtain of the temple was torn in the middle. And letting resound a call with a great voice, Jesus said, Father, into your hand I beside set my spirit. But having said this, he spirited out. But the Hecatontarch, having perceived that having become, glorified God, saying, This human was really righteous. And all the throngs having become led by together towards this visible event, and beholding that having become, returned below as one striking their breasts. But all his known ones had taken stand from afar, also the women who were going together with him, following him from Galilee, were seeing this, and perceive a man by the name of Joseph possessing the office of the councilman, and a good and righteous man. This one was not set in consent to the council conclusions and the practice of them. He was from Arimathea, a city of the Jews, and was readily receptive to the regency of God. This one coming to Pilate requested the body of Jesus, and having down eliminated him, he folded him in sindon linen, and laid him to rest in a stone-chiseled place of sepulchre, where not, yea not, but even not yet one had lain as a dead one. And it was in the day of preparation of implement, and the evening to the Sabbath lighted on up. But the women down following, who have been coming together with him out of Galilee, beheld the sepulchre, and how his body was laid to rest. But returning below, they prepared aromatics and perfume oils, and throughout the Sabbath that abides, they were quiet according to the inner aim.